Good evening and welcome to a very special edition of Outtakes with Fiore. I have special guests in the studio. Todd and John are here from New Dimension Comics. We have a plethora of things to talk about, including the Three Rivers Con, the new Avengers movie, and a whole lot more. Cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Please help me welcome to the studio Todd and John from New Dimension Comics. Gentlemen, nice to see you again. You were on last year, and we had to have you back again because it's that time of year. The Three Rivers Con is coming back, and of course this is your brainchild. And I've said this story many times, but you know, I went there last year, just gonna coast around, and I had a blast. Ended up spending practically all day there, dumping a whole lot more money than I originally intended to.
Excellent.
But it was great. There were so many great things in there. I went to that con last year, and I literally finished my Christmas shopping. I mean, I just cleaned up everything. It was absolutely phenomenal. But this year's is even bigger and better.
That's the plan every year, bigger and better.
So tell us what's in store this year.
So we were originally going to be in the same place where we were for the first 3 years. That basically went away. So we are now at the waterfront inside the old Macy's. It's kind of right under the bridge. It's pretty easy to find. There's free parking everywhere. It's very near the Primanti's. We already have some signs up, and we're going to put even more signs up. As a matter of fact, later today, that direct people where to go. The waterfront has been using that as an event space for other things. They most recently had the Easter Bunny there getting pictures. So it's well known as an event space already for them.
That's got to be awfully big.
I think this is the first time they're using the whole thing.
Oh, is that right?
The whole bottom floor, at least.
Yeah, it's got to be massive.
Yeah, most of their stuff
70,000?
is just like the beginning. 70,000 if you count all the dressing rooms. It ends up being close to 60,000 floor space.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
That's up from, we were in 45, I think, 48. So.
That had to be a whole logistics nightmare, just jumping up to that big of a space.
John, how's the map looking?
Well, I've had to rework it 3 times, but
just today.
I think we're good. We're doing one last double check today, and then we'll do the final placements for all the artists and vendors, and we'll release the map hopefully by the middle of next week.
Now, you know, one of the things that people always said to me about your Comic-Con was that it was a true Comic-Con and not, I guess the big famous one in San Diego now, they don't even want to call it a Comic-Con. They want to call it an entertainment con because everybody goes there to just promote their movies or whatever. But they said yours still captures the true essence of what Comic-Cons were all about. Is that something you would agree with?
That was always the mission from day one. We said that comics are what we do. That's what we do with the 6 stores. It's what we've done for 33 years. We're not going to change. You know, there was a bit of a need for it. There were people maybe were a little frustrated by some events that had that content. And I understand what happened in San Diego. There was a big audience there. And the movie industry saw we can speak to, in that case, hundreds of thousands of people. And get our new movie promoted to the right sort of niche crowd, and that was smart, and I think that kind of conveyed and changed the climate a little bit. So we just want to get back to the roots and just do comics, and we stray a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it's that core, and that's what's important to us, and that's what we're going to keep focusing on.
Yeah, you can tell as soon as you walk in, there's an emphasis on comics and the artists that do it. Now, every year you have a few name comics. Who are you highlighting this year?
You mean artist-wise, creator-wise?
Yes.
We have everybody from locals like Ron Friends and Pat Olive and Don Simpson and Robert Hack to guys like Josh Blaylock, who runs Devil's Due Publishing.
We have more publishers this year.
Yeah, we have like 6 or 7
really?
publishers this year. We have local guys from Action Lab coming. And then we also have like Russ Braun coming in from New York, who worked on The Boys, which is going to be a TV show on Amazon soon. He worked on Swamp Thing, Batman. Steve Geiger, who did Incredible Hulk and Punisher. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of people.
Michael Golden,
Michael Golden, yeah, I forgot about that.
co-creator of Rogue,
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah, did Micronauts, Bucky
A lot of
O'Hare,
stuff. He's
yeah,
one of those guys
X-Men.
done work forever.
Yeah, there's a lot. Our guest list is huge. I think we're
Over
up
100.
to 130-ish individual creators this
Yeah.
year. So Wayne Faucher, who's from the other side of, or the middle of the state, who's like a really famous inker for mostly DC stuff. Most recently, he did a cover for Detective 1000. Justin Jordan, who writes books for Image, DC, everything. Like there's so much talent coming. It's like, I can't keep track half the time.
It's fun for us when they all roll in, and they all tend to roll in at the same time because they most of them just have a portfolio and maybe a box. They don't have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's like a very thin window. Like big vendors that have truckloads of stuff, they come very early. These guys come an hour or two before, and they just have a banner to set up. Like I said, maybe a portfolio, something easy. So they all come in at the same time. It's this parade of talent walking past us, and we almost take turns like showing them to their table, and like an hour or two will go by, and he'll be like, "Hey, did Michael Golden show up?" Like, "Oh yeah, he's been here for 2 hours. You didn't see him." Like, that's when it gets very surreal for us. There's a point where there's this momentum that is unstoppable, and we're not quite there yet because there's still things we can affect. I spent my day yesterday sitting and just doing things and kind of pulling puppet strings and things that I knew I could to make this better and build more awareness. Yeah. And there's a point we can't do that anymore, and it's almost we strive for that point because you could just exhale, and it's great. But we're burning the candle at both ends and in the middle too, it seems. So it's crazy.
I always tell people it's like waiting for your birthday party because you hate getting older, but you love being around family and friends. And that's really what our show is. It's family and friends. And so it's all this work and it's really stressful and you just want to kill your coworkers and, and he feeds me enough beer that it's okay. Come May 11th, that 10 o'clock, as soon as people roll in, we're going to look at each other and go, all right, we're good.
We've mentioned it a couple times, so we should probably bring it up. We've mentioned beer. So one of the neat things about the Three Rivers Comic-Con is that you have a beer that goes with each event. And the beer is produced for you, and it's truly indigenous to the con because it has... It's if you remember last year's show, these guys came in with like a case of beer, and these bottles were like massive. It was like a big gulp of beer or something, and it had these labels on it that was really neat. So I took one out home after the studio, and I was afraid to open it because it's kind of like a collector's item. So it's still sitting in the back of my fridge. I haven't touched it yet, and it's like I'm going to keep that. I want to keep that and keep that beer going on there. But you've got another beer. Yeah, this year. Tell us about the beer. Tell us about the label and what's going to make it unique.
So for starters, it won't be a big gulp this year. It'll be more like an energy drink.
There you go.
So we're switching from bottles. The last 3 years, it's been bottles. We're switching to cans. It's a very popular trend in brewing now. Anyway, cans, they're just better. They're more durable. They don't break. They keep the light out. They're just a better way to have beer. The recycling is easier for aluminum. This is the beer label. The beer is, we're waiting to get the labels in to slap them on the beer, and it'll be done hopefully next week. Another difference this year, Shoe Brew Brewing, which is up in Zeunople, Harmony area. We did a long-term deal with them. They're gonna do the beer for 5 years. So it's the first year for them. The previous year's Helltown made a big move and expanded, and they were playing some catch up right in the time that it took to get this done, and they had to bow out of the project. So. This year's beer is oak barrel aged with maple and coffee added. I've had the good fortune of a taste. John stole a taste, and it doesn't suck. So I think a lot of people will be happy.
And it's going to be a limited thing, right? You said 5 years, and then this beer is gone.
Well, so
right?
every year the beer will be different as well. Is the plan? I mean, quite honestly, this beer is so good. There's a temptation to maybe continue with this one, but every year will be a different label for sure.
Okay.
We always try to partner up with a guest, obviously, who's going to attend.
Now, who's the...
Josh Blaylock is the creator of that character, and that character's been optioned for film and television, so it'd be somebody you might be seeing on the screen
Okay, this
sometime
one
soon.
caught me off guard. I had to talk with John about this before we went on, but this is
Mercy Sparks.
Mercy
And it's
Sparks.
Mercy Sparks Sinful Stout is the title of the beer.
which I think is pretty cool.
And Josh, as I mentioned before, runs Devil's Due. He's coming in from Chicago. He's a super great guy. And
Also likes beer.
likes beer.
He was very excited. He was not hard to convince to do this project.
Yeah.
But the beer is not available at the brewery. That's the one thing that. So what I end up doing is the beer nerds that are out there, which are they're as ravenous as the comic book nerds. They want to attend the beer release party just for the beer. And there's certainly some crossover, but every year there are people that come in, get the beer, and they'll have a bite to eat. This year the food's by Permane Brothers, by the way, at the party. They'll have a bite to eat and leave. They get 2 cans for attending the party this year. Since they're smaller than the big bottles we were giving out, the big gulps. I'm going to use that all the time, by the way.
they're about the size of like a big monster can now.
Yeah, that's why it's an energy drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
But that's the only place you get the beer, and Shoe Brew makes some pretty hot beers, so there's a little bit of a buzz behind all of this as well. Here I am getting them to make me a custom batch of beer that is only available at the con, so I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And it's weird, some people, they're not going to care. They'll be like, oh, it's good beer, but they won't know that side of it.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing in beer where like hot beers trade for not really money, sometimes money, but like they'll trade for other expensive beers in a marketplace, and maybe they're outside the market. I can talk about beer all day if you want, but we won't do that. So.
There's also something else going on with this year, in that the timing of the thing. You have made the Three Rivers Comic Con the same as Mother's Day weekend. And at first, people are going to say, well, it's Mother's Day weekend. I can't possibly go to the... But you guys have those bases covered as well, too. So why don't you tell us a little bit about all the special stuff for the moms?
We have 2 plans.
Yep. You want to talk about... I'll talk about the book. How's that?
Perfect.
All right. So everyone that comes to the convention this year will get this book. It is Hope #1 from Source Point Press. Written by a friend of mine, Dirk Manning, and drawn by a friend of mine, Kaylin Smith.
Both attending the convention.
Both attending the convention, so they will sign all copies for everyone that comes. Great. This is an exclusive Three Rivers cover, and if you notice, Todd and Amanda are actually on the cover, but it's cool because it's like they're at the show, like their booths are where their names are, and the publisher's here, there's theirs, and then their stuff, and then there's a New Dimension Comics booth. But every single person that comes in gets this. The regular version of this comes out on Free Comic Book Day, which is the Saturday before May 4th. So you can go to your local New Dimension Comics or your local other shop and pick up a copy of it anyway with the regular cover, but you'll only get this cover if you come to our show.
Okay, wait a minute. Back up a little bit there, because you dropped something in there we probably should mention, and that is Free Comic Book Day. Why don't you, I know it doesn't tie in directly to the con, but go ahead and explain what that's all about.
What it does to us, because we very deliberately use Free Comic Book Day to promote the convention.
Okay.
Off camera, I was talking to you about, I have this mentality of, I call it leapfrog marketing. You take one big event and you use that to promote the next big event. So Free Comic Book Day is a giant event for us. It's quite honestly, it's our best day of the year. It's better than Black Friday. It's better than any other single day. That said, anybody who attends Free Comic Book Day at any of our store locations is going to get a postcard, a flyer, a bag even that says, hey, Three Rivers Comic Con is next week. And so it's almost a little too much to do in 1 month, but at the same time, it's good timing to use that to promote the event. So why not?
So I'm guessing that stores are really going to be prepped up for Free Comic Book Day. It's just not, here's your free comic. And
Oh yeah, it's a nerd holiday, we
go.
like to call it. It is a celebration. It gets kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Lots of fun people and enjoy themselves. It's great.
I'll tie you up for 2 weekends in a row, huh?
Yes. We're doing the third
Again,
weekend.
just driving ourselves nuts. It's great.
So moms come in and they get that. Well, everybody.
So actually,
everybody
the
gets
part
it.
of-
Everybody gets that both days.
The part I forgot to mention is this is actually a Mother's Day cover because the little girl is the daughter of this character, and this character's alter ego is Hope, and the daughter is dressed like Hope in cosplay.
I'm not sure, that might be a
Pretty
spoiler, by the way, but maybe I'm
Sorry.
saying that a little too late.
That's all right. That's
I
pretty
didn't
cool.
mention names except for Hope.
That's all right. That's pretty cool.
But it's really cool to check out. I don't think there's ever been a Mother's Day.
We are
Specific
firmly
cover.
saying it's the first ever Mother's Day themed exclusive cover, and if anybody wants to challenge that, bring it on. But that was the intention. So
Okay, so if after you have your Mother's Day brunch, you want to go to the con, you got to make it worthwhile for Mom too.
Yep.
So tell us about that.
So we had this crazy idea. I think we had this second thought after we thought, okay, well, Mother's Day, okay, how can we make flowers out of comic books? So we went a couple different directions, and we've got a ladies' night group that is making some. And I think theirs are different. I haven't seen theirs yet.
Theirs are a little more intricate.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, they're our ladies' comic night group that meets once a month at our Pittsburgh Mill store. And they read a single book every month. You can check it out on our Facebook.
So I turned to my mom, who's been my single biggest supporter through 33 years of doing this crazy business.
This is true because she called just before the show came on to make sure that he would behave himself. So we got.
I haven't sworn yet, have I?
Not yet.
So my mom, and she's going to kill me. I hope she doesn't see this. My mom has a little bit of a problem with her hand. She has to wear a brace, and she has trouble like squeezing things. She's folding all these flowers by hand, like as much as she can manage to do each night. She's making hundreds of them, and we were there for Easter, and so she got all the grandkids involved. Like, well, if you can do this part, I'll finish them off because I know how to glue them and put the pipe cleaner on and all this sort of thing. But anyway, on Sunday, so this will be a Sunday only thing because we only have a few hundred of these. All the moms who arrive will get a comic book fashioned flower by my mom, mostly.
And it's not like typical flowers. They die in a few days and you toss them out.
There you go.
This is not something you want to toss out. This is something you want to keep. And if you're into, making your own floral arrangements, I noticed that she's gone ahead and used these bendy things here. So,
That's right.
So you can even shape. And
Versatile.
This is all good stuff. I think this is fun. I think this is a lot of fun.
One of our panels, actually, I confirmed yesterday, is our ladies' comic night. They usually do some kind of panel that involves women in comics. This year specifically, they will be talking about motherhood in comics. So they'll probably talk about like Sue Storm and other famous moms in the comics. So that'll be kind of a cool panel to check out on Mother's Day.
This is really cool. Like I said, I had a blast at this thing last year. I can't wait to go again this year. And it will be down at the waterfront. And if you're familiar with where that little intersection is, where the Improv is and Permane Brothers is there, right. It's literally right behind there.
Actually, where you stated is the aisleway to the main entrance.
Yeah, and it's going to be huge and it's going to be massive. Now, speaking of huge and massive, on last year's show, I brought up one of your flagship stores, which was in Century 3 Mall. And at that time, Todd, you assured us.
Spent a lot of time assuring myself.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he assured you we weren't going to leave anytime soon.
Yes, he did say. he did say that.
Which he totally did not lie about.
And here we are, 1 year later, and wow. An awful lot has changed. It sounds to me like it's changed for the better, but
Absolutely,
why don't you go ahead and tell us what transpired since last year's show?
Basically, the straw broke the camel's back. Things were degrading there. That was something we talked about last year. And finally, it got to a point where we couldn't be there anymore. So in the middle of all that, we had been looking. We were always looking. We're always looking for all our stores, really, for options. Options are good. I tell John that all the time, like having a better thing to strive for is always a good plan. So anyway, the waterfront has totally embraced us. They were very clear about we kind of want your style of store in our mix, and they had actually been talking to us about doing the convention there prior to this. So the convention was already kind of figured out, and it was just a matter of sealing the deal and doing it, and we're in there. And the space that you said you've been to the store, it's 2.5 times
massive
what the Century 3 store was, and that was huge. So it's 24,000 square feet. Our immediate solution was we literally sent a tractor trailer full of comics down there to fill it for $1 a piece. We're obviously spreading it out with a lot of other material as well. It's been still a challenge. We've been there 2 months now, and we're still setting up. And but the problem is we can't set up because we're so busy with all the stinking customers coming in all the time, throwing their money at us.
Best problem
So,
to have.
yeah, like, can you leave so we can, can you maybe help us with this shelf over here? But we're going to get there. It's just taking a lot longer. I want everything like instantly. The instant thing that was amazing was the move. So we got very short notice to get out of there, and we put a broadcast out. I can't thank the nerd community, the comic community enough. We put out a broadcast that, hey, we got to get out of here now. And we had in a weekend, we had probably 40, 50 people show up each weekend day just to help us move boxes and fix fixtures and drive trucks. And it was on both ends, too. People had to leave the Century 3 location to get to the new one. And there, it didn't need to be unloaded. Yeah. The team was there setting stuff up as best we could. Because we were open that day. We were like, we've already lost, at that point, we'd lost about a week's worth of revenue at one of our best stores. So that was we started to feel the pinch. I'm moving money around to pay bills. I'm like, I don't need to do this. So I think people like chaos to a degree. So they wanted chaos, they got it. And they came in and I think some people supported us too. They knew they could spend an extra $5 to help offset this drama. And they did. And it was amazing. It's still amazing in the beginning of the journey.
And not only was it other people from just our nerd community that came to help out, but we pulled staff from other stores that came. There were guys from Elwood there. There were guys from Ohio.
Friends of mine I hadn't seen in years showed up.
Yeah, friends of mine from Altoona drove out to help.
Wow.
It was nuts, and we really can't thank everyone, staff and helping, and our community and our big nerd family enough.
So you want to look for their new store down at the waterfront. It's pretty mind-boggling.
It's its own little convention project.
I've
been to conventions in smaller rooms, and that store is in.
And we are on the far west side, over by Best Buy and Petco and Michaels. Just so you guys know.
Right. So if they're coming down off that main bridge and they're coming down to to that big intersection there, the main T intersection, they want to hang a right, correct?
Correct.
Probably.
Yeah. Like if you come off the bridge from the Parkway,
right,
and you take the right down by the theater, you take the right, and then you go past pretty much everything.
Yep.
And then look for the Holiday Inn Express. It's right in front of the store.
And that's good because the waterfront down there is a pretty booming area, so it's it's very high profile for you guys. I wish you a lot of luck down there.
Right now, look for the store that doesn't have a sign on it. We're working on that.
Must be in there.
Yeah. We got a bunch of little ones. These guys up, but people are figuring it out. So.
Yeah. Now, last time on the show we talked about this, and I guess we should mention it again too, is the effect on the industry when these superhero movies come out. As we tape this show, it's opening weekend for the Avengers Endgame. So this is supposed to be, a giant mega hit. In fact, sometimes I think the industry sets the bar way too high, on these things. I just got a email blast from the studio claiming that they think opening weekend for this movie is going to be over 900 million.
Wow.
Now that's like every time your team gets the ball, your quarterback throws a long bomb touchdown. I mean, that's a little bit unrealistic. There's another team on the field. You got to expect something. Run the ball or something. So I don't know. That's really pie in the sky. But these movies definitely have an effect on your industry. Mm-hmm. So is this year? I know the Endgame is the biggie, but they've also put out a couple of other ones that maybe aren't don't carry that kind of weight or that kind of gravitas. So what are you expecting as far as bumps from the movies this year that maybe you didn't have last year? Oh, and we can include the Star Wars in that too, since you were getting John was getting livid in the green room about it.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a Star Wars movie this year. There was a Captain Marvel movie, a Hellboy movie. And then when you talk about like television and other multimedia, like you had Umbrella Academy.
Mm-hmm. We might get more from that these days, I bet.
Like Cloak and Dagger season 2 kicked with Mayhem. Mm-hmm. So all the Mayhem first appearances have been moving very well. It's nuts. Like people just like when Umbrella Academy first was announced, like no one really cared, and then once the show hit, it was, oh man, this is really cool. I want to read it, and we couldn't get it. Like it was out of print. Like
the publisher was caught off guard even.
Yeah, the publisher didn't have enough to stock all the stores. So It took us like weeks to get it in, but we got it in for customers, and they're still buying it. And I really enjoyed the first volume of that book.
Yeah. Now, is it just the superhero stuff, or would something like Godzilla also tie
Oh,
into-
yeah.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
So
there's-
they're even going to play in the Godzilla comics and all that stuff?
yeah.
I know they've been
For a while.
running one for a while, but I mean, is there going to be something indigenous to the movie, or?
I'm not aware of a plan for movie.
I don't know. They'll
verse.
probably just have some kind of like Godzilla versus the other kaiju
Yeah.
type of deal. Because like when King Kong came out, they did a couple Kong minis.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
They might do mini series, like 3 or 4 minis.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
four book series.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything specifically planned for Godzilla right now.
So is there anything big you're gearing for after Endgame?
Besides sleep?
No.
Yeah, besides
Somebody
sleep.
told me there's not a Marvel movie for like a year. Is that true? I don't. You guys are the experts in this.
Well, they have that Joker coming out in
No, a
Well,
Marvel
that's
movie.
DC. Yeah.
so this is Marvel's kind of
Yeah.
Endgame.
Endgame. Yeah.
No.
I wonder why-
Spider-Man: Far From
Oh, that's
Home.
right, Spider-Man's coming up.
Spider-Man's in
Of course,
July,
of course.
right?
Yeah, Spike.
But I believe there's somebody told me there's nothing filming for Marvel now, and that means there's nothing next year.
I guess
coming
everybody
out.
needed some sleep.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I could have been it. So.
I could be wrong about that. And like I
To
said,
be fair, Endgame might still be in theaters this time next year.
Yeah,
that's possible.
could be true.
So if it's as good as they're hoping it is, but I mean, as we were talking earlier, I'm excited and I'm scared to see it because you know I want to see how it wraps up, but I'm sad to see
It wrap
you know
up.
I'm sad to see it wrap up. Yeah, because like there are. Like we all know, people's contracts ran out, and we're not going to see certain characters, and some of them are moving to the TV stuff with Marvel, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because Scarlet Witch and Vision will be on there. Loki. What is it? War Machine? Is it War Machine? Or no, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
They like all those guys are just going to the TV stuff.
Yeah.
Live action. Like that's what we're gonna get next year. I think next year they're gonna really just push their Disney Plus app because it drops in I think November. So I think they're going to be pushing a lot more of that stuff than the movies next year.
Hey, and before we run out of here, I wanted to show this up because this is, wow, just explain that. That blew my mind.
So this is Avengers #1.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, it's Avengers weekend. Let's put this out for sale. So we're going to put this out for sale at our waterfront store today. Today is the 24th, but either way. And the first guy that comes in with $2,500 gets it. So there it is. You know,
It's
in
encased
Avengers
in
1.
carbonite, so it's
It is
preserved
sealed up
forever.
nice, ready to go. Could probably, I don't want to test it. Something fell off of it. Hopefully it's good. But anyway,
Cool beans.
I figured it was on its way to the waterfront. That was the stop. You were the stop here, so I got to bring it by to show it off. There you go.
Cool beans. So, a lot of things going on. Not only do you have the superhero movies in the theater, and you have the brand new Dimension Comics store down at the waterfront, which is absolutely incredible. You don't want to miss that thing. But you also have the Three Rivers Comic-Con the weekend, Mother's Day weekend of May 11th and 12th. Be sure you stop down there. I'll be down there. Look for me. Look for Todd. Look for John. And just be amazed at the amazing things. I'm telling you, I did all my Christmas shopping one day down there. It's amazing. Gentlemen, thank you once again for coming on to the show. Always a pleasure. We'll have to do this again, maybe next year.
I don't know why you keep asking us to come back, but
We can come more. We can bring beer. We can talk
I
nerd
think
movies.
next time
It'll
we
be
should
fun.
bring the beer, probably after we have a few go on camera and see how that turns out.
that's a good idea.
Now that you have learned what you have learned, get your butts to the Three Rivers Comic-Con, Mother's Day weekend, May 11th and 12th at the waterfront. Class is dismissed.